Hello everybody and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I am Takedown and this is your channel for everything VR related. Overall, it looks like it's going to be a great week for VR gamers, as we have a massive new game dropping, the VR Game Showcase returns tomorrow with over 20 new titles, and finally we have some updates to Horizon Worlds, which I actually agree with for a change. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but let's start things off like normal with the check-in. Okay, so for those of you new to the channel, the check-in is where I let you know what I'm up to in the VR world, and I'm going to PAX East this weekend, so if anyone else is going, please let me know down in the comments. I'm going to bring some headsets. I'm going to throw a demo of our game on the headsets, and if you catch me, I'll give you a live demo. So let me know if you're going, let me know if you're going to be there, and if you want to try out the game. Additionally, I'm going to be covering The Boys this week, so if you want to see some coverage of The Boys, that's coming out on Thursday. There's another game I'm going to be covering also. And finally, I'm working on my list of my top 100 games. I do that every single year. So if there's an obscure VR game that you love and you think won't make it onto the top 100 list, please let me know what it is in the comments so I can make sure it finds its spot. I don't want to miss any games. That's what I'm terrified about. I'm restarting the list from scratch. So let me know those games. But for now, let's move into this week's new releases. Now, we actually had a game stealth drop last week that I missed, so I wanted to make sure to bring some attention to the horror-themed experience, Cursed Echoes. This is a bone-chilling and brutally immersive horror experience that's inspired by other projects like PT, Exit 8, and Cabin Factory. Now, this is only a short $5 experience, but it's definitely worth checking out for the big horror fans, as it's both bone-chilling and extremely immersive. But if horror games aren't for you, why not fly around in the stunning world of Skytail? Studio Coatsink, most well known for VR games like Men in Black Most Wanted, Jurassic World Aftermath, and Augmented Empire, is now giving us a high-flying action-adventure title where you soar around on the back of a giant bird and battle against enemies using telekinetic powers. Now, this is definitely on the more kidsy side than what I'm used to, but I have enjoyed the previous work of Coatsink, and this does look like it could be a lot of fun. So if you're interested in me covering this game, please let me know down in the comments. But let's move into something much more my style with The Boys Trigger Warning. Now, this is our big VR game release for the month of March, and I am currently hours deep into this experience preparing a gameplay video for you guys. Now, if there's anything specific you want me to go over or talk about in that upcoming video, please let me know down in the comments. Now, if you're unfamiliar with both The Boys source material and this upcoming game, allow me to briefly explain what you need to know. The Boys was originally a comic book series based around the concept that a corporation named Vought not only produces superheroes, but utilizes these superpowered individuals like merchandise. It also focuses mainly on how power goes to your head and how that power tends to corrupt just about everyone. Now, the series also happens to be extremely gratuitous, excessively violent, and jam-packed with adult-themed humor, which makes this game right up my alley. Now, I know the gameplay does look a bit cartoony, but don't let that fool you because this is an authentic The Boys experience. And last up in new releases, if you're looking for a new brawler-style game, we're getting TaVRN's Takedown. Now, I'm also planning to cover this title because as of right now, I am interested in every arena fighting style game, mainly because we are internally working on one, and it's just nice to see what the rest of the VR community is up to. Now, overall, I don't know much about this game just yet, except for the fact that it looks like a standard VR brawler, something like a mix between Drunken Bar Fight and Gorn, which overall sounds like it could be a lot of fun, so make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on so you don't miss any of my upcoming gameplay videos. But for now, let's move into some game updates with 21 Pilots coming to Beat Saber. There's not much to report here, it's business as usual. A new popular song, in this case Stressed Out by 21 Pilots, is coming to Beat Saber later this week. In not so fantastic news, the servers for the PlayStation VR 2 shooter, Firewall Ultra, will be shutting down in September. Now, to be honest, I'm surprised they're not shut down already, because Firewall Ultra was one of VR's biggest disappointments. Now, the game was super hyped based on the popularity of the original PlayStation VR 1 title, but unfortunately their PlayStation VR 2 launch was an absolute flop. Now, there's some rumors and conflicting information on what exactly happened internally, and I've even heard that Sony pushed this game's early release, which resulted in some pretty bad first impressions, and it was all downhill from there. And there's really nothing worse than a game that overhypes and fails to deliver, except for when a game does deliver, but still just doesn't do well in sales, just like Assassin's Creed Nexus. Now, in terms of VR games, the title did well enough, but coming from Ubisoft, they are used to much bigger returns from flat titles, so they've now gone to the point of shutting down Red Storm Entertainment, the team that created both Assassin's Creed Nexus and Star Trek Bridge Crew. So Red Storm Entertainment has just joined some other amazing studios like Ready at Dawn and Cinzaro, who have proven track records, create some of the best VR games ever, but still get shut down anyway. Overall, the VR industry can be quite tough, and I hate seeing stuff like this. A lot of times, it's not a matter of, was the game profitable, but rather, hey, let's just get easier profits somewhere else. But sometimes a product is just not good enough, and in my opinion, that's what happened to the Lynx R1 and now the R2, as the company has just gone into liquidation. Now, if you never heard of the Lynx R1, it was very similar to the Meta Quest at the time, except that it had a new style lens and was going to focus on pass-through. Unfortunately, just like pretty much every other little guy has realized, it's nearly impossible to mass-produce hardware against someone like Meta. We always end up getting a device that is too little too late, and it's always significantly more expensive. Now, I had very little faith in the R1 and even less in the R2, which proved to be correct, as this headset won't see the light of day. Honestly, going forward, we need competition from another major player, so I'm really excited to see what ByteDance does with Project Swan and what the overall impact from the Steam frame is. But that's a completely different topic that I'm sure we'll get to in a future video. But before we get into the main topic, we have some updates from Meta's Horizon Worlds. We were recently informed that Meta will be shutting down the VR side of Horizon Worlds, citing the fact that the majority of the users are currently on the mobile platform and not VR. Now, we were originally under the assumption that as of June, Horizon Worlds would be completely removed from the VR platform, but it looks like that's not exactly the case. You will still be able to access existing worlds. We're just not getting any new updates, and any development of new worlds will only be available on mobile platforms rather than VR. Now, I was happy to hear about this because there are some people who do love Horizon Worlds, and there's no sense in just taking it away. Now, overall, I have a little bit of mixed feelings on this because I'm happy that Meta is not spending a ton of money on Horizon Worlds anymore. They realize it's not going anywhere. Good, put the money somewhere else. I'm also happy that people who love Horizon Worlds in VR can still access those worlds. There were some things that I enjoyed. Like, I love the concept of persistent avatars. The only problem is the avatars in Horizon Worlds were just terrible. We want something cooler. But if we could have VR persistent avatars that follow us from game to game, and we have unlockables in every game that we could share in, shared experiences, what they were trying to do with Horizon Worlds, just they did it poorly, would be nice. I would love to see some of those features built into an OS, but I would also like them to be platform agnostic, so I could bring that avatar to Meta, to Steam, to PlayStation VR 2. I know it's a pipe dream, but that would be really cool. That's the persistent VR world, metaverse type experience that I do want to see. But let's get into today's main topic, the VR game showcase that is dropping tomorrow. Now, if you guys want me to cover the VR game showcase, do a recap or talk about the highlights, or maybe even stream it, let me know down in the comments. But I do have some inside information as of right now, and I am super excited for this show. I think there's going to be some good stuff. The VR game show has taken over for what Upload VR used to do, and their shows have kind of gone to crap over the years, and the VR game show just keeps getting better and better. So I know we have some really cool highlights. Now, based on the things they've talked about, we know we're getting a little special look at the boys, which will be nice. Exo Shock, which I've played multiple times before. I keep playing their current alpha and beta, which is looking really, really good. And there's some surprises in there for you guys that I can't wait to talk about. So I want to hear your feedback down in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And this is going to be a busy week. Like I said, guys, I'm even going to PAX and streaming from PAX. That'll be Saturday. So if you want to see me stream live from PAX, remember, subscribe, notifications, all that, and I'll see you guys next time.